Callum, do you suddenly have an overwhelming urge to leave this fucking planet behind and get away from everything?
I mean, yeah, the past like entire year. How many months has this year been? 6 so far.
We're now on month 6. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all fucked.
Right.
I will say though that it's appropriate because the weird sort of like melodramatic singing aria piece that's playing and accompanying to this title screen that we're looking at here reminds me of a game called RF Online that I used to play when I was a teenager. It's an MMO. It's a Korean MMO that is also about fucking leaving Earth and going to inhabit different planets, and you can be a robot. But the main title screen has a really melodramatic.
Well, according to the credits, is done by somebody called Scalefin. So maybe it's the same. I don't know. This is Space Haven. This is a early access game on Steam at the minute. It is, I think, £19 if I remember correctly. I only normally
fact check.
We normally do early access games as part of the work in progress series when it's something special, when it's something like we did Cook Serve Delicious, for instance, because we're big fans of that game. We did Tactical Breach Wizards because we know the developer and they do cool stuff. This one is from I don't know if it's a new developer, but I've definitely never heard of them before. The thing that's really getting me about this is, so this came out, was a Kickstarter game. It came out in early access at the end of May, and it's now, what, middle of June, and it's been patched 4 separate times and have added, like, radical new features to it. Well, not radical, but, like, straight up new stuff.
They're doing development, is what you're saying.
The development is going pretty well, as it turns out. So, I'm going to load into the game. I have been... Alright, I specifically took a save at this point, because I had a lot of stuff in it that I was going to show off.
That's a good loading message already.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, are your guys fucked up? Leave them alone.
So, Space Haven is... Are we paused? Yes, we're paused. So, Space Haven got described to me as RimWorld meets FTL. And RimWorld's not a game I knew about, but I hadn't really heard... I hadn't actually played. And
it's fucking crazy as RimWorld.
Yeah. So I think the official term is like colony sim as opposed to city sim.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard it as before. It's so it's more about managing like a small group of survivors or people.
Yeah.
Than it is about making a big city or whatever.
Yeah. So like all the characters here are named, for instance, like, and you can you're working at this scale. So it's kind of FTL. If I do, for instance, this. You start to see, like, hey, here's the FTL bit of this section of this game, where you can jump about and you have to use like jump gates to get to other systems and all this kind of stuff, and actually kind of goes for a little bit. But basically, you are. I'll get back to this. You are building the ship and basically trying to. It's kind of unclear. Either I've missed it or it's not actually. They haven't developed it completely enough as part of the early access. But you're basically trying to jump home, I think, is basically the thing.
Sure, that would make sense. Yes. That's normally a thing.
And you're basically, this entire ship is customizable, so you can go straight to, if I go to the build menu, and I can go in here and edit, and you can basically straight up edit the build hull, and you can just add rooms to the hull, like from here. So I'm gonna add that.
Oh, it costs stuff to do. It's not like a.
Oh yeah. So it does. So you can see like cost to build are these blocks. I think these are literally just called hull blocks and stuff like that. But the point is that the whole layout of the ship is totally customizable. Like you start with, or I started this bit anyway with like just this middle section, and I've been building out rooms, doing all that kind of stuff. But I think that the thing that kind of they definitely layer complexity on it in just the right way. I'll also say, like, for an early access game, it's exceptionally polished. Like, I haven't hit really any bugs yet. A couple of pathfinding things, but nothing giant. I also really like how it looks. Like, it's pixel art, but it's super deep. So, like, if I start...
It's really detailed pixel art,
yeah. So, like, if I start it running, like, the animations and stuff on my power unit and things...
like, even just, if you just look at the engine, like, there's a lot of, like, really fine detail.
There's detail in there, for sure. So currently, there's a lot kind of in here that I'll try and run through. I'll probably just pause this actually, if I run it at normal speed, it should be fine. So this is the kind of the tutorial setup. So my next task is basically prepare for interstellar travel, which means
Hypersleep.
Hypersleep, basically. So hypersleep, as I discovered as I continued on with this game much later, is expensive, and a lot of the resources I had missed a whole chunk of the tech tree, which is where is the tech
What's that thing flying outside your ship?
These are let's run through what we've got. So these are my the pods that I have. So the pods here, they have to crew the pods to go and build that room that I just built. So they're
I see.
So that's them doing that. But also, if I continue to zoom out, there's a kind of system view here where I have so I've actually mined all of these, but there are asteroids out here that you mine for resources. And again, you send the pods out to do that. They do mining stuff. But the other interesting thing is here, there's a derelict over here as well, which we haven't looked at yet. But we'll get to that. So they're away building that. We've got like a farm over here where you're building grow. So you've got like fruits and vegetables and artificial meat. You can also build like grow fibers for clothing and that kind of stuff. A little medical area. This is our actual like personnel ship where you can ship people about to get to the derelict and stuff like that. We'll use that in a second. Power. There's straight up like spaceship consoles for different things. It's like the navigation consoles required to use the hyperdrive, the operations console for weapons and stuff like that. And then over here, through this airlock that's here, is like my kind of industrial area for now. So I've got like a recycler where you stick scrap in and get blocks.
Why does it need to be behind an airlock?
Because if I go to overview, oh no wait, does it actually show you in here, or do I need to go to build? Maybe build. Objects, facilities, nope. Resource. So like recyclers, for instance, here, they have a heat output and a hazardous gas output. So they recommend. And they recommend in there like enclose the walls and a spacesuit door to ensure a safe working environment. But not only is it a safe working environment, if you do stuff like the metal refinery, it generates noise as well, which will affect people's moods and morale and all that kind of stuff. So I've kind of basically locked it all behind this space. In fact, I think Cedric's about to go in to operate it. Yeah, there you go. So he's now in his spacesuit and he'll go work away in there. So there's all the buildings, and there's a bunch of stuff already in here for basically like turning one resource into another resource and all this kind of stuff. But then there's also the overlays, and as you can see down at the bottom right here, there's a lot of different overlays.
Oh, not overlays again, not this.
So stuff like, hey, here's the temperature overlay. So like everything's kind of room temperature right now. The only bug I've seen so far is or it's not even a bug, it was like a feature they hadn't really talked about yet. So the system I'm in right now, as you can see, like has a sun. I jumped to a system that did not have a sun, and suddenly the temperature of the entire ship just dropped to cold, and people started freezing, and I had to...
That makes sense. Yeah.
It does, but like I then had to quickly wrangle with the whole, like, there are... These things? No, tool facility. There's one here. There's like thermal regulators, which are basically radiators that keep the place heated. Like, I hadn't had to do any of that at this point, and then suddenly everything was in like absolute zero. And
I mean, that's you learning, right?
Yeah, totally. So the power grid is the really complex part of this. So the power grid is an interesting kind of evolution of systems like this. There's a kind of similar system in Industries of Titan, which is another early access colony sim that I've been messing around with. So in order for this to work, you basically need to create so you have a power generator. You can have a number of power generators, and they are connected with power nodes, which are these things here. And every node and generator can have 3 connections, and the maximum of 3 connections to distribute power. So you basically have to plan out your ship so that everything can be reached within. So everything can only have.
But is it like 3? Is it 3 cables, or is it 3 within cables, that area of influence?
3 cables that can be attached. But there is like there's a maximum distance, but it's pretty. Yeah. I haven't hit it.
I thought it was behaving like pylons in StarCraft, where it's like there's an area that.
No. But also like output becomes a problem. So this is outputting 115 or generated 15 units a second, and how much it's got stored is the green number. The different power nodes have different output amounts. So for instance, this is the only thing I wish it showed you the information that's in the build menu when you click on the thing again. But so each item has a different amount of power it needs, obviously, and the power nodes themselves can store and output different amounts. So like this is the big power node, which takes up floor space, but can like store a bunch and is pretty big output. There are also like this one, which is on the wall, which doesn't use floor space but uses wall space, and floor space obviously at premium, but doesn't output as much. And then there are floor units, which are, so like from a medical facility, for instance, I don't need that much, so I just got a floor unit in here, which people can walk over and takes up 0 space, but has a limit to what it can put out.
I assume it's got like, pedally output or whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, it can take a much, and again, all of them are animated well enough where like this bar on the unit is dynamic, so you can see like how much of it is being used.
Oh,
so if it drops to red, you can see it kind of fall apart. And like when you click on them, you can see like this is the maximum range of stuff it can connect to. So like, and again, like the wall units have more and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, the power stuff was the one that kind of really took some getting used to, of like, okay, how do I build a system? How do I build a ship where everything's reachable within 3 nodes and all that kind of stuff? Which is a kind of interesting building problem. And then you've got stuff like, hey, here's comfort levels. Also got like, this is also really useful. Like I wish more things had this. This is just like available jobs, so you can see like all the stuff that can be done. So there's been a couple of situations where you see people just standing around. You're like, why the fuck are you standing around? There's stuff to do. It's like, oh, it's blocked, or job's not available. Or
is there like a system in this game like there is in the other games where every individual person has like a priority job list sort of thing?
Yes, but it's not individual people. It's it is individual people. Yes, this is
okay.
This is basically taken from. I mean, I know this as basically very similar to Oxygen Not Included. Has a very very similar system to this.
RimWorld has this as well.
Right. Okay. So it's like, and again, it's like high priority, very high priority. Don't ever do this. All that kind of stuff. It's got a schedule, again, kind of like, again, for me, this is Oxygen Not Included. I'm sure other games have this as well, where it's like, here's your work time, here's your free time, here's your sleep times. And then you can actually build up a fleet, like, so you don't just have the one ship, you can build multiple ships.
Oh,
they haven't got to the point where they explain why that's a good idea yet. Like, I mean, obviously there's going to be a limit to the size of the ship, but like, is there going to be much use in having a ship that is just like, this is just where my salvage people live? I haven't worked that bit out yet.
I guess because you could treat them independently, right?
Yeah,
and
you can
like, go to multiple systems at a time.
You can't. Your fleet has to stay together.
Oh, I don't know then.
So that's the thing. I haven't quite worked that bit out yet. And CO2 can be a problem. Oxygen also an issue, because you can see like my sealed off area has 0 oxygen, but it doesn't need it, and it needs to be cold anyway, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Water vapor was the thing they added in that last patch, which I haven't touched yet, which is like recycling of water. So currently, before the patch, you'd have to harvest ice to turn into water. But in this, everything emits water vapor. Like your people emit water vapor, the plants emit water vapor. And
so you recycle the water.
Recycle that. Yeah, that's new. I haven't even touched that yet. And then venting generally, like to let gases in and out and all this kind of stuff. Like all these doors have vents you can open and shut and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot in there. So let's go look at the derelict, because that's the other part of this game. So everyone, you don't, like most of these games, you don't directly control people, obviously.
They just tell people to do stuff,
yes,
and they go do it.
But there are some, if I check people's inventory, there are 2 armed people. I think it's these 2.
Oh god, it's the original XCOM.
Right, this reminded me a lot of...
It's just that scream.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take these 2 here, and I'm going to hit draft. And what draft does is basically take them entirely under my own control now. So they are... so basically
so now it's an RTS.
Now it's an RTS. So she's coming back from there, and now I'm going to take both these people and... Oh, no. Why are you not... Wait, I drafted you, didn't I? Did I not draft you? I didn't draft you. Draft. There we go.
You selected them in a group, but I guess
I thought I did. Okay. But there. So I've now got both these things, and you can see, like, if I zoom in, they're both armed and have backpacks.
Yeah.
I also need to draft this ship, because this ship has automated features. Oh, shit. Nope, come back. Has automated features as well that you need to like undraft it to let it just work on its own. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit, because this gets a little bit. So then enter the craft. So they're now both in this craft, and we're going to go explore this derelict over here. So if we zoom into derelict, there should be a dock. Oh wait, I need to show it up. So if I grab the craft, I go dock, and there's the dock. So I'm going to dock here, accept, and I'm going to just jump over while they're there. They're going to dock in here.
People are resting comfortably. That's
yes, good. You know, they need to be resting comfortably. And then I'm going to take the ship. Oh, the controls for this bit in particular could do with a bit of work, because it's very easy to like just completely disconnect yourself from.
I was gonna say, yeah, you just seem to be undocking really
no
easily.
Reason. Yeah, you just have to make sure you hit the right button. You're gonna reorientate yourself. Thank you. Come on, redock. Thank you. And then undock, undock. And then we're basically just exploring the ship. So the easy part of the kind of aim of this thing is basically explore the entire ship. Because once you explore the entire ship and the ship's clear, at that point it's then your derelict, basically. You can do with what you will. But you do need to make sure that you've explored all the...
Yeah, like strip it for parts or whatever?
Basically. So I need to just basically check every room.
Is there like a thing in this game?
What do you mean?
Like something that's gonna jump out at you?
There are aliens. So there are for sure aliens, or creatures, let's say. Maybe aliens is strong, but they're definitely like, I've definitely seen spider creatures so far, which are sometimes in derelicts, sometimes they're not. But yep, so there you go. So I've explored that entire ship. So the ship is now ours. So at this point I can tell them to just go back. I love that they'll hover over gaps, like they're smart enough to hover over gaps in the hull. And that
I like the little animation quirk. That's pretty good.
Also, like they've all got O2 and morale and health, or stamina, sorry, and health, all in there. So once they're both in there, and O2 is not going to be a problem, I can basically take them and I can do undraft. They will go back home. So this is now on automatic. But now this is my ship. So what I can do now is I've got two options. I've got transfer, and transfer will basically show all of the...
Is that just like... So if you select all of this stuff and it's like transfer everything, are people have to kind of go over and individually get all this stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
So if I select all and say transfer to my ship, you'll see all the the numbers went to 0 with like -1. Actually, I probably don't need the human foot that's there. But there's stuff like, so yes, it will go and grab all of this stuff, and I think that'll be... So if I just run this at speed.
I noticed on the derelict there was like all the parts you could pick up, and then there was like a salvage button as well.
Yeah,
is that like stripping the ship itself?
So since the entire ship is so if I click on it again, I need to do it from here. If I do salvage, you can see you can basically mark it to start stripping blocks. So this will you'll strip it off and it'll turn it into scrap, and then the recycler will turn that scrap into blocks. So you can see there's a lot of infra scrap, not a lot of hull scrap, energy tech, soft scrap, all this kind of stuff. But so they will look... Oh, it's because they're asleep. I was wondering why they weren't going to do it. So I'm going to basically say, okay, go grab the infra scrap and transfer to the ship. So I definitely have done things where... So a couple of the other things I've seen so far that I'm not going to be able to show in here. There are pirates, for sure. Or like rebel craft. Sorry, my throat is going nuts. Excuse me. Aha, there we go. There are rebel ships that will attack you. So they have system. Yeah, so there are energy turrets, like straight up energy turrets to shoot at opposing craft. I got attacked by my ship, by a rebel ship enough where they broke a hole in my hull, which vented all the oxygen out, and all my crew had to put spacesuits on and were slowly dying.
That sounds like FTL.
Yeah, so what I did instead was take all of them, arm all of them, ship them over to the pirate ship, dump them there, take over that pirate ship, and then claim that ship as my own. That bit is that final step is not in there yet. You can't just claim a ship. That's not a feature yet. But I basically got all of the people on that ship to surrender, and the ship was basically then at that point theoretically part of my fleet. But I checked on like the Reddit and stuff like that, and said that has not been implemented yet. But theoretically at that point that ship would then.
But it will be at some point as the.
So you can see they're currently they've all got space
they're
on.
just mining. Okay.
So they're currently taking apart all of the internals. To turn them into,
these are the things that you're picking up.
So some of them are blocks. I can't actually see the blocks sitting here, but so some of them are blocks they will just grab and dump in the dock. But some of them they will have to deconstruct. So the thing I've asked them to do is deconstruct for what was it? Infra scrap. So that's like mechanics basically. So they'll deconstruct some of the stuff that turn them into blocks and then ship them back. So yeah, and then that's a good idea. That's a good way of getting an easy ways of getting a bunch of scrap, but it does take a while.
Yeah, I'll imagine.
And especially if you want to then salvage as well. You'll send, because if you then do, if I actually make, because I don't really care about the save, if I then take them hull scrap as well, if I just say hull scrap instead.
Is that they just start stripping the outside of the ship?
Basically, so then there you go. That's
there you go. Yeah.
Going to go strip all of that out. And since there's big holes in the hull anyway, it doesn't really matter. But they're then going to start doing that. What else we got? I missed that ship unfortunately. But if I go back out to here, some other stuff you can see. So there's some other factions as well floating around. So this is like a kind of a cult, kind of.
Great.
Who will buy food from you for high prices. There's a whole trading aspect as well that you would do for a ship. You can see these sectors, like you can see these ones have what resources they have in these asteroid fields. And then eventually this system here will be the one that's the jump gate that will take you to different systems out here, as long as you've got hypersleep running. And then you basically explore out from there. I think that's kind of all of it. There's a lot in here, like a surprising amount for a game. So obviously this has been a beta for a while, purely for Kickstarter backers, and this is just the Steam launch, basically, of the early access. But like I said, there's kind of a lot in here. A lot of the, especially the industrial stuff, is very easy to ignore for a long time until suddenly you realize, oh shit, I don't have any of the blocks I need to build.
That's kind of how a lot of these games work, totally. Though. Is like, oh shit, I didn't think about that. And
but especially for this,
it was like when you were playing Oxygen Not Included, and you didn't think about like pests and stuff like that. Like that was your.
Yeah, so for instance, that's now one of the first things I build when I build a ship. So I haven't actually had to restart this, so I might actually, just very quickly, I might try and load my late game before everything went tits up.
It went tits up?
Yeah, it went real bad at one point.
Okay.
Let's see where I am here. Oh yeah, okay, so it got a little bit.
Whoa.
So it got a little bit bigger. So my industrial area got a little bit bigger because I needed to build stuff for these hypersleep vessels. Where are my crew?
Where are your crew?
Oh, they're there. It was paused. Okay. Yeah. So So it got a little bit bigger. So what have I added here? Improved the toilet system, because it turns out there was. Oh, so the other thing, if you click on any of these individual units, you can get conditions. So it's got like, here's all of the stuff that's affecting them right now. So like spacesuit fatigue, major discomfort. They've been awake for, like, I love this one, which is like, I have been awake is a negative.
I mean, that is it. Like every second that you're awake and not asleep, I feel more and more upset.
Exactly. I like that they've made it a system as well. So it's comfortable. Like they've done something they love, which is bloodlust in this case, which means they've killed an alien, which is great.
Every time I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh god, this again? Yeah. Like, this is the...
I need to do some bloodlust in order to be able to feel anything anymore.
I need some bloodlust
I need something.
so that I know that I'm alive.
Yeah, so this is that new system. So as you can see, it's like a... I don't know if that... I think it's like a... Cold sun's not a thing, but like a less warm sun anyway. So you can see, like, suddenly I've had to put all these radiators... Cold sun's a term, right?
Is it?
I think it is.
Can suns be cold?
Colder. And also, like,
what's a blue sun?
That seems like what this is. This seems like a blue sun. But the other thing you can do as well in the edit stuff is you've basically got, like, you could go full on Sims and like style your ship as well. So like, if I take this red one, you can say like, make this room all of the red, and like my medical room's all white and the toilets are a different color and all this kind of stuff. Like, there's some cosmetic stuff in there as well. That just doesn't look like a ship anymore. There we go. But yeah, there's a lot in here, and there's a whole prisoner system as well. It can take people captive. That appears to be the only way to get more crew right now. I haven't figured out a way
to take people captive.
Take people captive and then say like, okay,
you're gonna Stockholm syndrome people into working on your ship.
That appears to be the way, unless I'm missing. I haven't seen any more, but I've had these same 4 people the whole time, and I can't see how to get more. So maybe, I don't know. Yeah, and there's a bunch more in here. Like, so the shield generator and scanner and stuff like that, like, they obviously go on the outside of the ship and are like, your ship is remarkably vulnerable Like, it will heal over time, but like you can't take a lot of bullets unless you really defend yourself, and the defense stuff takes a lot of resources to do. But yeah, that's kind of all of it. I'm still exploring more of it, but this is kind of the idea. It's for sure one of like
where's your helm? Like, how do you fly your ship?
You kind of don't need to. Like, what?
Oh, okay.
So like, in order to be able to, you need to build a hyperdrive in order to be able to jump between systems. Sorry, not systems. Yes, systems.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the difference in this. I think System Galaxy, I think, is their scales. So like, you can't use the hyperdrive to move. You need to build a hyperdrive to be able to move about, which needs the navigation console. But like the operations console for weapons, the weapons console, the operations console does something else that I can't quite remember right now. That's for communication with other ships, for instance. And yeah, so that's how you jump about. So there's stuff in here. Like I said, they're updating it a lot. There's stuff in here I haven't seen really much of yet, which I'm hoping to get to. But yeah, it's a really cool one of these. It seems super polished for an early access game. They seem to be supporting it really well. I really like how it looks, and the systems themselves kind of work together in really interesting ways. But yeah, so yeah, this is Space Haven. It's on Steam right now in early access. Yeah, just check it out. It's cool. And I'm going to go listen to that main menu theme again to try and figure out where it came from, because I've never heard of the artist before. Thanks, Cal.
Cheers, dude.